This is Luke DeCock guest hosting on the OG with Mack Brown guesting on the OG. We're all cooperating. We're all pals. We're all buddies. We're all getting along great. Mack even likes my Carolina blue shirt that I accidentally wore,
which I need a picture with so I can keep it too, and it'll be eternal.
It's blackmail fodder. That's
yes.
what it is.
Yes,
that's what it is.
And that works.
All right. I want to ask you. We're going to go right in off the deep end. I'm going to ask you the toughest question. I don't believe it's possible for a Gene Chizik coach defense to be at the level it was at last year, the first half of the season mostly, but 2 years in a row. I don't believe it when I look at Gene's career. What in your mind gives you confidence that you guys can kind of pick up where you were kind of going in the second half and take a leap forward and get to where you need to be to match your offense?
Yeah, and Luke, it's a fair question. Number one, our defensive players will be in the same defense for the second year in a row, because they had a completely different defense for 3 years. So that'll help. Number two, Gene will be back in the office working for the second year in a row when he took 5 years off. And a lot of things changed offensively. So it's a big change, a bigger change for him than he or I either one thought, because they're spreading out more. They're going faster. There's just things. So he had to get back in the swing of things. And then the third thing is we have a lot of guys back. We got 7 back, but we got a lot of depth back. We got some older guys back who are getting tired of hearing they were bad. And we also are in a position now where we were really bad against App State. We were really bad against Notre Dame. Then we got better. Yeah. So we're not as bad right now as the narrative was early in the year. But I saw this spring, I think we're going to be much improved.
But you're the king of taking 5 years off and coming back.
Yeah, but the head coaching job at that time was easier to come back into than the changes there were on offense. Now, if I was coming back in now with NIL and transfer portal, it wouldn't have been so easy, because it's a lot of multitasking with the head coaches now too.
Yeah, you're a general manager as much as anything these
yes.
days. Dave Clawson was talking about tampering and all the money that his players were offered. How much money did you go out and offer transfers this offseason?
We haven't offered any. I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of great things with NIL. It's the best time to be a student athlete because they can be paid for the first time ever. So it is good. What we got to do is get control of some guidelines so we don't ruin our sport. And if we allow it to keep going like it's going, what we're going to do is have such an inequality in recruiting that you're going to have 10 or 12 teams that are a lot better than everybody else, and they're going to be the ones that paid the most money to recruits. And that's not what we want. So we got to get the states. We got to get the politicians. We've got to get the commissioners. We got to get the presidents, the ADs, and the NCAA in one room and say, we can't have state laws different. That doesn't work. So let's don't be selfish. We can't have this happen and this happen because a politician wants to get voted back in because of his big booster. What we got to, let's do what's best for the kids and what's best for the sport. And we can do that. And it's out there. And I see us making progress now. People are a little more careful about their tampering than they were last year because it's been called out, and people aren't going to put up with it. But you've got to change who you are, and we're living in a different world, and that's just the way it's going to be.
I don't want to steal these guys' shtick, Joe and Joe's shtick, but do you want to open a pack of baseball cards? Were you a baseball card guy growing up?
I was.
They'll get the 87. There's a Sam Howell card here. I got it. There's a Sam Howell card for you.
How about that?
How about this one? Talk about NIL. Can you ever imagine as a coach seeing a football card with one of your players in your college uniform?
How about that? No.
2023.
No. We used to say you can't have your boosters pay kids. Now we're wanting the boosters to pay kids through collectives. And we always said, don't get around an agent. Yeah. I mean, North Carolina got in trouble for being around agents. So don't have an agent. Now
what are you talking about?
Now every one of them have an agent. So there's a lot of differences going on in our game right now.
So the Sam card brings up something I want to ask. When Sam came back, and you guys were here, and everybody was loving on you like you talked about, and obviously it didn't quite go the way you planned. You got Drake back. You got some questions about skill players, which a little familiar, wide receivers instead of running backs this time. But what did you learn from that experience that you can apply to help this team maybe mentally handle some of this better than that group did it at times?
What I'm learning is it's really hard to go from 2 wins and 5 wins over 2 years to a mindset of you got to play hard every week, and enough's never enough. So I felt like that Sam's team came back and they were 8th in the country and they were walking around with a little swagger and they weren't ready to do that. And they got hit in the face and didn't respond very well. And that's my fault. We allowed it to happen. You either coach it not to or allow it to, and we allowed it to. And then last year we sit there and we beat Wake Forest and then we got a 17-point lead on Georgia Tech and we let it slip. So we have got to have a tougher mentality about doing it every minute of every day to be a great team. And we haven't done that yet. And that's what we've got to get to.
Yeah, it does feel like you guys maybe learned a little bit. I remember we were talking midseason. Drake was in the Heisman conversation. He was kind of coming up and that those things did happen then. So it's almost like you've now had that experience of going through it and you have a chance to fix it now. You're not out of time.
I think that's true. And even after we turned the ball over 3 times against Clemson and led to 14 points because one of them's at the 24-yard line, one of them's an interception for a touchdown, and then we get a field goal blocked. So that's 17 points that we basically gave away. We came back and 7 starters down on defense had a chance to beat a really good Oregon team with 19 seconds left to go in the game. And again, those situations, even losing that game with a 10-point lead with 9 minutes left, should help us grow up and learn more about how to finish games.
You talked after the Oregon game about how excited you were about Chip coming in and Drake's role and kind of feeling that out. Now that you've had some months to work together and get a sense, kind of has your perspective changed? Have you learned anything? Kind of how do you feel about this new offense, going into camp?
Yeah, I felt like Chip was going to be good going into the bowl game, but I didn't know him. He hadn't coached, but I felt like after going through spring, he and Drake are on the same page. He's an outstanding teacher. He's keeping basically the same passing game, and he's adjusting to a different and I think more effective running game for us, which should help us with pass protection. And then you add Freddie Kitchens, 11-year offensive coordinator in the NFL, and then a head coach in the NFL that had 2 first-round draft choice quarterbacks. And then you add Clyde Christensen. There's a lot of great minds in that offensive room now that are going to really help us. And what we've got to do, Luke, is make sure we pull all those guys together and make sure that we get the best ideas for our team on the field, not the best ideas they have, because we got a lot of brilliant minds in there that have to pull it together.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for noticing my accidental shirt. And you look great.
Thank you. I feel great, excited about the season. Season tickets are sold out. Game day for the South Carolina game. Really tough schedule, but have a good team. Should be a fun and challenging year.
Yeah, we'll see you back here in 5 weeks?
See you in 5 weeks.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.